Welcome to my life's journey. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. The truth of the matter is that all of us have gone through something which has affected us, and what I'm saying is that even when you go to a doctor will treat you, and most of the time they don't wait for you to be 100% healed before they release you. They'll tell you go and continue healing at home or go and recuperate at home. And that is all we are saying. We're saying that work on your trauma so that it gets to a place where you're aware, but it's not directly affecting you. You're not mean, you're not controlling, you're not insecure. At least you deal with those roots. But if you come and you're unaware of yourself, you're unaware of your wounds, you're unaware of your the things that you picked along the way when you were doing your childhood, and the things that happened to you as a child, it can make a relationship really complicated. And this is a conversation that I am so passionate about, and I really love it because I know in the African context we don't like talking about things like this because we kind of like to assume things. I mean, it's crazy the stories you hear about people, because I counsel a lot of people and I talk to different people about their own stories. And trust me, the things people have gone through out here, my goodness. So that's why it's important to have this conversation. And today we've done a series on relationships and the things I've learned and how my childhood, of course, had affected my relationships. And I'm giving you real stories because these are relatable things. These are not things that are made up. These are things that it took me courage to come here and talk about them. And today I want to talk about the lessons that we pick, okay? So one of the lessons that I shared in my last video is that you can only meet people as deeply as you've met yourself. And sometimes this is something that people assume and say, you know what, no, I'll just, so many of us even leave one relationship for another, when each and every one of those relationships will just call you back to yourself. Somehow we think the other person is the problem, and that's why we run away, because we're running away from ourselves. We're used to running away from ourselves. Can you stop and go back to yourself? Go back home, to your body, to yourself. I read somewhere by Jan Lavanzant that a person's soul is like a deep well. You don't know what is going on inside there, but you can only tell by what comes floating on the surface. Relationships teach us about ourselves, because you will be exposed. If you have any insecurities, if you have any shame, if you have any controlling tendencies, you will be exposed in relationships. And just because you're exposed doesn't mean that that is where it ends. It means you have an opportunity to heal. It means you have an opportunity to be better. It means you have an opportunity to do better. And we can only being authentic in relationships means that we get to deep dive into ourselves. In as much as a relationship is something that we have with someone external, but it reflects what we give the other person is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves, the things that are going on in our hearts. And that's why it's important to go back to you, because that is the only way that you will learn to connect with others on that level. And then you can attract what feels familiar. Sometimes we attract people who are violent because we lived in an environment that was violent. Sometimes we attract what is dysfunctional because that is what we know. That is what our souls know. Because our souls connect to what looks familiar, what sounds familiar. I lived my life emulating what I saw the adults around me when I was a child doing. Always shouting, always angry, always insecure. Until I got to a place where I decided, is this my life or is this someone else's life that I'm trying to live? Because this is what I saw for a very long time. And I said, but if this is not who I am, because I didn't even like it, then who am I? Where am I in all this story? Because I cannot be a projection of my grandmother's anger. I cannot be a projection of my mother's abandonment. I cannot be a projection of my auntie's, wrath. I cannot be a projection of my uncle's physical abuse. No. I want to be me. I want to find out who I am, who God created me to be, the creative part of me, the child in me. What do I want? What was my soul like before all the issues were brought to me, before I was wounded? Who was I? Because I cannot meet other people. I cannot be in a relationship with other people until I am in a relationship with me. And that relationship was broken because somehow I lived outside of myself just to survive. Okay? And relationships are also good because they offer you a safe environment, and that's why you cannot afford to be attracted to a person who's going through what you've gone through, in terms of they've not dealt with it, they've not done the journey. My friend and I keep on saying they've not done the work. We have to meet people who've done the work, because then they will understand how to help us do. There's some work in us that will need people's support. You'll need an environment that is safe for you to do the work. You'll need people who are supportive to help you to do the work. You'll need accountability people who will not necessarily give you pressure, but they will remind you why you started to begin with. They will remind you when you're struggling, because healing is not an easy journey. It's a journey that requires you to go back into yourself. And there are things that will feel so bad, and that you will want to go back into just becoming the traumatic person that you were, because healing will take a lot from you, but it will also fulfill you the most. Just like a child, just like getting a child is work. However, many people say that they fulfill you in a way that you never thought they could. You just look at it's like a part of you is walking on the outside. That is what a friend of mine described it as. And I love that aspect. A relationship is the same. It will take work, but the fulfillment you get out of it is going to be worth it. I mean, we all desire relationships. We all desire healthy people. I desire healthy people. I desire people who have done the work and they are willing and open to experience life. I don't believe even I've experienced everything I want to experience. And that's why I desire, just to live a life I've never lived before. And we must all desire that in our relationships, in our lives, okay? Because at the end of the day, we need to attract relationships that will offer us a safety net to continue with the healing. But can you imagine you're dealing with your own trauma, and then you come and you meet another person with the same trauma, and both of you are chaotic in there, and you're rushing and killing each other and judging each other and manipulating each other? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And we are also saying that we don't have to be 100% healed, but at least to get to a place where you're safe for other people. You get to a place where you've dealt with a lot of things, you are self-aware, there's things you've done, and that allows you to go to other people and to be able to be in a relationship. So please don't try to be in a relationship if you're not dealt with yourself, because it's going to be chaotic and there's no need. Take your time, heal, go in there, stick your finger into the wounds and allow them to heal. Healing should be very intentional. Even self-care should be very intentional. So everything should be very intentional. So thank you so much for being here. Allow me to share the next story in my next video. Thank you so much. Please share with many people who you feel this will really benefit, because I believe someone is going to be changed. And sharing with you guys, opening up and saying how we can handle it, because we have to open the wounds and close them, as one of my best coaches says. So we have to open wounds and we close them, so that we know we take that pain and we use it for something meaningful, because it has already happened. What do you do with it? You first of all accept it, and then you deal with it. Okay, so join me again in the next video where I talk about how you can handle because there are people amongst us who have already found themselves in a relationship that is toxic, and maybe you already have children with that person, you already have history with that person. How do you handle? Please stay tuned. We're going to talk about that as well. From the experience that I have and from what I've read, I'm here to bring you a trauma awareness conversation that will make you feel safe enough to even look deep into yourself and to deal with it. So otherwise, God bless you. I love you so much. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Bye.